Hi everyone, it's Emily out here in the preserve. I recently had the opportunity to speak to a mortuary college class, and by the end of the presentation, I was really speaking to them as peers. I was speaking to what I want the folks who are working in funeral service in our industry right now to hear about green burial and green funeral service. So I wanted to share just this clip in a format that would be a little easier to share more widely and give just a tiny bit of context. Earlier in the presentation, I had brought up the customer service axiom. You know the one, it goes, the people are going to forget the things they read, they're going to forget the things they heard you say, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. And I think this is so true in funeral service. Sometimes the attendees can just be like unmolded clay feeling their way through the proceedings. And this can be a huge opportunity for us to think of the experiential side of what we're offering. So call this the experiential theory of funeral home management, but that's really what I'm speaking to in this clip. So let me share the clip and then I'll pop right back in with you for a conclusion. Okay, switching gears just a little bit. I mentioned, I really think the community is finding out, or they're reconsidering natural, the ecological effects of their funerals and what they want done with their body. They find out about the burial preserve and they call me and they say, this is great. This is what I want done. Tell me a little about the cost. Tell me a little about the timeline. Tell me a little about the rules. They say, I just have one question. How does the body even get to you guys? And they have made this whole dream of this is what I want done after my death without conceptualizing the idea that they are going to need a funeral home. And I say shame on our funeral service environment that the families are out there with this little education on the topic, that they ask me, how does the body get to your site? And I say, well, I'm working with a couple of different funeral homes. It depends on where you're calling from. And they say, oh, no, we're not going to have a funeral. You just asked me how you're going to deal with mortuary transportation. What do you say? You do need a funeral home. You need a funeral director. And they don't even realize that they need it. And they think that a funeral is this capital F thing that takes place in a church. And that if they're choosing a green burial, that it's like non-applicable. And we have a lot of work to do to correct this. But for me, I also see this as a huge opportunity. And what I've noticed is when I have this conversation and someone calls me because they Googled like green things I can do with my body, or they saw, we have a show on Rocky Mountain PBS, and they've seen that and they think that's the long and the short of it. It's not at all. So if they're not averse to the word funeral, look, you got to call my friend at the mortuary. They'll be able to set you up with a plan. It could be really minimal. It could be just, transportation, no embalming. Family can supply the handmade vessel. It's still a green burial. It's just you are using a funeral home for help. I think there's huge opportunity if someone wants to be the funeral service that bridges this gap. There is a huge gap in the market. And I know that because the folks when I tell them, oh, you got to call my friend at the funeral home, they are picking up that phone and calling and purchasing in a plan with an alarmingly high rate. And it actually, I think this is the next slide. It is. There are funeral homes that have not taken my presentation yet, that are not even wanting to talk about what I'm offering down here in Florence. It's a new option for families in Colorado, but I think some conventional funeral service businesses see natural burial as a threat because in some ways I do represent a loss of your margin on the casket, your margin if sometimes the funeral home sells the vault, sometimes the cemetery sells the vault, but in this case, funeral home might lose the margin on the vault as well. They're also going to lose the embalming and restorative art charges. But look, I am a funeral person. I did my apprenticeship. We were the care center for 8 Catholic mortuaries in Oakland, California. So we embalmed everybody. I have seen some situations where embalming, has been a godsend, a blessing for the families because of the circumstances. And there are also many cultural traditions where embalming is going to facilitate the funeral that they want to have, and no amount of concern for the planet or carbon emissions or whatever is going to change the fact that these folks are bound by religion or tradition to ask for a funeral with embalming. So I am not trying to end embalming by any sense of the imagination, and I'm not trying to take a bite out of a margin for a conventional funeral home. What I'm really trying to do is add another option, because I believe some families are, I'm not trying to end embalming. I'm trying to end embalming for families who would be better served by a funeral that represents a return to earth. Duh. So I am suggesting to funeral homes that you can recoup that potential loss of margin in the merchandise and embalming fee with other services. And just as an aside, you can sell green burial merchandise. You can get it shipped overnight like your regular caskets. It fits right into any funeral home's business model. It's easy to add. So that argument is gone. You can make your markup on that. But I would like to suggest you also make your markup on the family's experience. That's what this charter bus is about. So if you guys are, Denver metro area funeral directors, it's going to be about a 2-hour drive with your funeral to get down here for the committal service. My suggestion is do it with a charter bus. When we're ready, we'll have do it with a no emissions charter bus. On board, you can serve all organic lunch in compostable, wrappings. And with the AV on the bus, you can do your slideshow and pass around your, microphone to do your sharing tributes. And then when you're out in the burial preserve, everyone's going to get all the, do their shoveling. You've got the restroom right there to, do a little of freshening up and keeping the people comfortable. And then they will have had this incredible experience and still yet have the togetherness and place to rest on the ride home. A good funeral service business could make a markup on all of those things: the bus, the catering, the movie. It is time to be creative. Polluting the earth should not be the way we make our money. And yes, embalming and vaults and really ornate caskets, there will always be a market for those, and that can be a portion of your business plan. But if you are relying on polluting ones and ignoring regenerative ones, shame on you, shame on you. And I should have mentioned as well, this Briar Rose design thing at the bottom, a natural, local, plastic-free, in-season floral arrangements. You guys don't even have to have a green burial. People, you ever drive by Whole Foods on a Saturday? It is packed with people who will pay triple for their eggs and milk because it gives them this feeling that they're, doing what they ought to do for the environment, right? And so I think local, in-season, biodegradable floral arrangements should be at every funeral, not just green burials. If you're not working with a florist like that already, start today. If you follow my work, you may have heard me bash lawn care, the green lawn industry. But I don't have a problem with these companies. It's true that the American obsession with a perfectly manicured lawn is harmful to the environment. It is a consumer of fossil fuels and a contributor to carbon emissions. But there are reasons to have a lawn too. I don't have anything against lawn care companies. Golf is super popular. I'm a sports fan. If you have a reason to need a manicured perfect pitch, it's great that we have the expertise and technology to be able to do that. But if you're a lawn care company, Do you really want 100% of your business to be this extractive, dominating of nature, denial of reality model? Do you want to tell your grandkids, oh, in my business, I spent my entire career on the wrong side of the environmental movement? No, I would argue that now is our opportunity to be able to say, in my time, in my position, I did what I could to nudge my sphere of influence towards a more regenerative, more harmonious relationship with nature. I did what I could to right the ship when it comes to our global crisis of climate and environment. So the parallel I'm trying to draw here with funeral service and cemetery products is obvious. I promise that people are going to always ask for full embalming restorations, for fancy caskets, for final resting places that exhibit the grandeur of how they wanted to live their life. But I am making the argument that it is time right now to open our hearts and our arrangement room binders to options that also offer experiences that are in harmony with nature, and to make sure that we are also including services that are part of the solution in our portfolios and in our curriculums and in our areas of expertise. And it doesn't mean you have to change everything about your business. It just means you need to keep your ears and hearts open for families that are looking for a way of death that's in harmony with nature, or that offers a way to sequester carbon instead of make more emissions. If you want help implementing this into your business or training your staff, I can be reached through coloradoburialpreserve.com. Thanks for watching.